Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are coming out this week to your local comic book store, or if you shop with us at infinityflux.net over
here.
there,
Yep.
or come into our store, we will have these books available as well. But you can head over there right now. All the books we talk about will be on the website right now, available for purchase while supplies last, because this stuff goes fast.
Yep.
And faster every week. But this is a huge show with some ginormous books to talk about. Some of the biggest ones, kind of in a slew that we've had.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's one or two, but there's a lot this week. Sometimes I think that they want to have a lot of books on the shelves for like Black Friday when they know there's going to be a higher retail, like people coming in. That maybe that's why they kind of up it a little bit, but we've got a lot of number ones and a lot of stuff like that. But we did want to mention...
Yeah, speaking of Black Friday...
This one?
No, the top one.
This one?
Yeah, so speaking of Black Friday and of our website, infinityflux.net, for Black Friday, if you shop with us online, we do have a deal where you can get a $50 gift card for $40. You can get that in-store or online. And if you shop with us in-store... Come on in. There's a whole bunch more deals that I can't even remember them all. But we did want to let you know about this right here, a $50 gift card for $40. If you are an online customer, if you're not local or something like that, that's a heck of a deal because that'll get you $10 worth of free comics. Yeah, essentially.
And you can buy a lot of those.
Yes, and you should.
I believe up to $500 is up to $5.
Oh, I was thinking 5 cards.
No, it's
up to 5.
Up to $500.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So, awesome stuff right there. Yeah. But let's get into this week's worth of books because Matt's starting off with one that I might have to shut him up about.
Right. Yeah. So,
slap you right across the mouth.
I'm gonna have to challenge myself to not talk about Justice League Unlimited #1 for the entire show because I could do that, and I might. So watch me, and everything else we'll just run through at the end. But this is the book right here. So this is the nucleus, the core, the center, the spine of the DC universe. This is written by Mark Waid. The art is by Dan Mora. And the best way to describe this new era of Justice League is, did you watch Justice League Unlimited, the animated series back in the early 2000s? And it had every hero under the sun. They were all on the Watchtower. Different heroes would go on different missions every episode. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. Every hero in the DC universe is part of the Justice League. I don't know if they all live on the Watchtower, but...
They're welcome there, and they all, from what we see in this one, spend a good deal of time there. Yeah. People who even have their own, cities or whatever to watch out for. Yeah. I guess you can teleport between the two so easily that they kind of just seem to hang out on the Watchtower a lot.
They have membership cards, and there's different meeting rooms for the different teams and things like that. So it's just, it's a huge new era for the Justice League. And in this first issue, there is a group of Justice League members, some of whom are on this cover, but some who aren't. They go down to South Africa to deal with an attack by a new terrorist organization named Inferno. And it seems like this organization is going to be a threat for the Justice League, at least for this first story arc, if not beyond that. We don't really know yet. But it's really cool because when Inferno announces themselves to the Justice League, they say, oh yeah, we're not trying to hide anything that we're doing because we consider the Justice League beneath us. Yeah. And even when Superman says, hey, the Justice League, we're the strongest we've ever been. We've got every hero now. They're like, we're not worried about it. Yeah. So it's like, who are these guys? So we're going to learn more about them as the story goes on. There's also another plot where Batman and Blue Beetle go to Costa Rica to investigate some strange happenings there with kids getting snatched up and taken into the woods. We don't get as much... we don't spend as much time on that story, so we're going to learn more about that next issue, I think. And then on top of those two stories, there is also a character that serves as our eyes, basically, serves as our POV into the Watchtower, what it looks like, what all these different... we get our best look yet at the Watchtower, how it's set up, how it's organized.
I would say the most explaining of it.
Right.
So how the team works
and everything.
We saw a lot of it, and... interact with people in different rooms. You could kind of guess what some of those were. This one, you pretty much get. Well, just say that Flash gives somebody a very fast tour.
Yeah.
And does kind of say, hey, this is the room for this. This is the room for this. Here's what this does, or here's what these people do here. So that's kind of a really good primer for everything going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And we see that there is a character. I'm not going to tell you who, but there is a character that coordinates everything, that alerts them of threats, calls out which heroes needs to go on these different missions based on who is most suited to handle it. All that kind of stuff. It's just so really, it's cool. I love logistics like that.
Yeah.
I like when House of X Powers of 10 first came out. I read the hardcover, I think a year ago, and I just love the logistics of here's how here's how our government works and the island works and all like that kind of stuff I think is really cool.
In this, everything is kind of explained, but in a fun way of this hero and this hero came together to create this portal so you can transport here. And it's like little bits of different members of the Justice League that have come together to work, just like the cards they have that we saw in the DC All-In special.
Yeah,
It's like everyone had a little hand in it to create this really cool place.
Yeah. So this is just this. Like I said, this is the center of the DC universe going forward. We were on a retailer call with Mark Waid and a few other folks from DC a while back, and they confirmed for us that yes, this is the center of the universe. Anything major that happens in the DC universe, you're going to see it in this book. And then there's also other books. So there's a panel in this that talks about where they're running through, and there's and Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi are working on the Atom Project to try to fix all the powers that went wonky. And there's a miniseries of that coming out soon. Yeah. We see Renee Montoya, the Question, roaming the halls, and that kind of links back to her miniseries. Black Lightning, we see him kind of act as a teacher / mentor to a couple young heroes, which we also saw in his miniseries. So all of this stuff comes together with this at the middle to form a big, cohesive, awesome comic book universe. And it's just, I could talk about this all day, but I'm going to stop there. But it's just amazing. This is the Justice League book I've always wanted. I feel like this is something you would pick up off the spinner rack in the 80s, because it's it makes me think of the 80s. The Avengers had their membership cards, and that's how they talked to each other back then. They would talk into their all that kind of stuff. It's just so much fun. And the fact that we're going to get a rotating cast. It's not always going to be Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Sometimes it might not be them at all. We do say them in this issue, but sometimes it might be other people. We do see, as Flash and this other character running through, we see other heroes getting called to other missions. Maybe we'll see those in other issues. I don't know. But there's just so much potential here. There are so many different directions this story could go in. The DC also did confirm for us that Dan Mora will be the artist on the first 5 issues, because that's going to be your first story arc. Then he's going to take a tiny little break. Then he's going to come back and do another story arc. So at least the first 5 issues are going to feel very cohesive. It's going to make a great trade when that comes out. My favorite book of the year. This is I'm calling it right now. My favorite book of the year, and that's all I'm going to say.
It's not all just a tour of the Watchtower.
There's action. Yeah,
and there's some characters that I'll say some powers that are kind of explained a little bit more in a really cool way in this, and there's a lot of drama and a lot of tension.
Because at least half the issue is the team that goes to South Africa dealing with that attack. I mean, that's a lot of it too. So it's not just all walking around. There's a lot of action. Superman and Wonder Woman slugging big machines, and a couple other characters trying to rescue people, and every character has their part to play, and they do a good job showing. There's a reason they're there. It's just so well done. So I'm gonna leave it right there. But you want this book because it is amazing. I love it. It's perfect. So this is our A cover right here, and we have a lot of cool variants.
Are you gonna mention Hush?
I do that every time. I had to go back on my own video and re-record a bit later. So yes, this red bar at the bottom says Batman Hush 2 Prelude. So there is a 4-page prelude into the upcoming Hush 2 story that starts in Batman number 158. It's not a whole lot, but it just sort of serves to whet your appetite a little bit, show you what the tone is going to be. Of course, it's drawn by Jim Lee, as the whole Hush 2 story is going to be. And those 4 pages will not be in any other DC book. No other book coming out this week or this month. Those 4 pages will not be included in Hush 2 Part 1 when Batman number 158 comes out. So they probably will be in the collected edition whenever that comes out. But for now, if you want to see the 4-page Hush prelude, you can only get it in this book, and you won't see it again until probably the trade paperback next year sometime.
Yeah, it definitely it doesn't do as much in like story,
right?
But getting you more back in the mind space of Hush, and I feel like there could be some little Easter eggs around. There's kind of your things where you see a lot of pictures and stuff going on that got me really jazzed for the new Hush 2 coming out.
It does look like Hush too. I mean, it looks like Hush, right? You see some characters in there. You see Jim Lee's art. Like it's gonna be cool, and it's in the back of this.
Yeah, if you needed another reason, to
right?
Pick this up.
right. I can't believe I forgot about that. Like for the third or fourth time. So, but yeah, it's there too, and it's really cool.
You would remember when you picked up the Hush variant.
Right. All right, so this is our A cover. We have some cool variants. This is the Andy Kubert variant with, I think this is a wraparound. Nope. With Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman looking at the Watchtower. We have our Howard Porter variant that homages JLA #1, the Grant Morrison Howard Porter JLA one from 1997. I
love the characters that are on this one: Ragman,
Swamp Thing,
Beast Boy, Wallace West.
Again, some of the characters are in this issue, some aren't. And the cool thing about this is there's the potential for all kinds of characters to pop up in this. Mark Waid told us some other characters that are going to come soon. Some older characters, some more recent characters. It's just going to be a smorgasbord of awesome characters.
It's really fun to also just look around in it and see what characters in the background. Because Swamp Thing is in the background of one panel.
Right.
Some other very interesting characters are in there as well.
Yeah. This is the Ed Benes cover, which homages his and Brad Meltzer's Justice League #1, and this is a wraparound cover. That's you can really tell right there.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I like that one. There is a blank sketch variant, so you can draw your own favorite Justice League members.
Or all of them.
Or all of them, yep. There is the Daniel Sampere foil variant, and this is also a wraparound that is kind of that big promotional all-in image, but nice foil. And I would have remembered it right here. So this is the Hush 2 variant featuring Batman and Hush. Hush is not in this book, but this is sort of a letting you know about the backup story there. And then there is the 1 in 25. Dave Wilkins variant where they're all looking at the Watchtower. And then there's we're selling that one for $9.99.
That gives me the idea that somebody locked
the
keys in
the
Watchtower.
We're waiting for the locksmith, yeah. And then we have the 1 in 50. I don't have the artist on. I can't tell. I don't have the artist on this one, but the 1 in 50 that we're selling for $24.99. Yeah, I love this issue. I read it twice. I flipped through it again after that. It's so good.
Well, next up, I've got a big one. It's Absolute Wonder Woman #2.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll start off by saying I like this one more than #1, and I did really like #1.
That's how good this is. It's even better.
Kelly Thompson did mention that this is a slow burn, and they know that, but it's really building to something really big, and we get a hint of that in this issue. So, in the first one, we got a lot of Wonder Woman fighting this giant creature that came out of the ocean, and it's kind of minions, and we saw pretty much the origin of this Wonder Woman, at least, a puzzle piece in a tapestry of what her origin is going to be. But we continue this one as that fight is still continuing against this giant creature, and she's pretty much handling it herself. Like there's no problem there, but she does learn that this creature she's fighting is not the big bad. It's a herald of something to come, and that is very worrisome for Wonder Woman because she kind of feels like she knows what's coming. But when this fight kind of eases up a little bit, who appears but Steve Trevor? So we get our first appearance. I know we were wondering if it was going to be in 2 or 3. This is your first appearance of the absolute Steve Trevor. And since each of these issues is going to have a flashback story, we get the flashback of their first meeting, which is awesome because it's very similar to the original. But the fact is, Wonder Woman wasn't raised on Themyscira. She was raised in hell. Steve Trevor washes up in hell, which is also kind of really funny.
Yeah.
That when he finds out where he is, he's like, "Oh, I didn't think I'd end up here."
Yeah, he makes a little joke about it. It's cool.
But we do see kind of some more threats that are around hell and where Wonder Woman grew up. But a lot of this is setting up, that classic story of her kind of healing him and bringing him back and everything, but with this new lens of Absolute Wonder Woman. We also learn in this more about Wonder Woman's kind of gear, what her lasso is in this, which is very different than the lasso of truth. It does something much different. Like I said, we learn more about Hell and Pegasus, which is a great scene in here where she introduces Steve Trevor to Pegasus, and you learn through that like what this creature actually is, which is awesome. And you do get introduced to the big threat of this, which is not a spoiler because it says in the solicitation for even future issues, a thing called the Tetracide. And that's where this turns real Lovecraftian and really awesome because it's a page turn that goes, whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, how is she going to fight this thing? Yeah.
Once we saw her fight, like, it's Herald, then it. I don't know how you contain this fight within a book.
Right.
This is definitely a boss fight level.
Yeah, it's the main boss. Yeah, for sure.
So, fantastic issue. I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked it more than the first one. And the way it's building, I can't wait to see what is going to happen. But I love this idea of the flashbacks too, because you kind of get this big battle going on, and then these more intimate moments, but really world building.
Yes,
that's what I love is getting the world building stuff and learning a little bit more about what this absolute universe looks like. Who are the key players now in the kind of Pantheon era of this? But so much more I don't want to give away, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Definitely pick up Absolute Wonder Woman #2. It is a lot of fun. The art is great. Just really, really cool. We've got...
They are now, DC's now, what is it? Have they 5? They released 5 Absolute books. Now 5 for 5 on the Absolute books. It's great.
So we have this really nice Joel Jones variant. We've got this Raphael Albuquerque variant. We've got this Stephanie Hans variant. This is for... Okay, so I also want to show that if you missed out on the first printing, the first run of issue #1 of this Absolute Wonder Woman, they are a second printing with a lot of cool covers. So we have this foil decal variant. Like I said, this is for issue #1. This is the Jeff Spokes variant, who is the interior artist on something we'll be talking about coming up. No, not yet. He's got a book coming up.
I was gonna say, I don't remember when.
We also have the kind of the black and white foil, and this is for the I thought this is for the Noir edition. Yeah, this is for the Noir edition. So the interiors of this are all black and white. There is the Noir, just black cover of that one. We also have of the #1. We have the 1:25 ratio. We're selling for $20. We have, there's a lot of these. We have the #2 1:25. We're selling for $24.99. I believe that's Medio Scalera, which is really cool. We've got a 1:50
nice.
Stephanie Hans variant. Kind of the version of the other one that we're selling for $39.99.
Yeah, so lots of Absolute Wonder Woman. So we have #2, we have the #1 second print, and we have the first print of the Noir edition of #1. So there's 3 different Absolute Wonder Woman books. And if you missed out, like you said, if you missed out on the first print, you can get the second print of #1 along with #2 and have both of them to read together. Yeah, so that would be awesome to do because you read both at the same time. Well, I'm still want to talk more about Superman and Dan Mora. So we're going to talk about Superman #20. This is written by Joshua Williamson, and the art is by Dan Mora. Dan Mora is doing 2 monthly books right now, which is crazy these days.
And neither of them look like they're suffering from it.
Yeah.
They're all both.
And he's doing covers. Yeah. It's awesome. So at the end of last issue, #19, which was the first Superman issue in the New All-In era. At the end of that issue, we learned the identity of the Time Trapper. I didn't see it coming. I don't think anybody saw it coming.
No.
And then at the beginning of this issue, we see the Time Trapper and Superman talking, and we learn what the Time Trapper wants from Superman. Why are you?
They're like they like froze time.
Yeah, last issue. Yeah, last issue. The time right when they were about to start slugging it out with Doomsday. Last issue, the Time Trapper froze time for everybody except Superman. So now they're just like sitting here talking, and Time Trapper, what do you want? So the Time Trapper tells Superman what he wants, and they have a whole conversation about that. And then he leaves, right? And when he leaves, he unfreezes time, and Superman resumes his battle with Doomsday. And don't forget, Lois Lane has superpowers as well. We don't yet know why. It's not revealed in this. It's going to be in the Superwoman special coming out in December. So we'll learn more about that later. But when the Time Trapper leaves, unfreezes time, most of the rest of the issue becomes a giant anime level fight between Superman and Superwoman and Doomsday. Superman does some crazy things to build up enough power to try to take down Doomsday. They call in more help, and maybe that does or doesn't work. I don't want to tell you.
A little of both.
Yeah, a little of both. But this is the biggest action I've seen in a comic in a while, probably. And of course, the artwork's amazing. Their buildings are falling down. Shockwaves are raging through the city. And there's shocking moments, more than one that happens in this. Like everything about this is awesome.
There's something in this that happens to Superman when he starts fighting real hard.
And I've never seen that.
And I haven't seen that, and I was like, it seems like people know what's going on here, but I don't know what's going on, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't want to say what it is, but yeah, it's very interesting. It's like, wait, what does that mean? Yeah. Why is that happening? And did I miss it? Have we seen? I've read every Superman for the last several years. I don't remember seeing this, so maybe more to come on that. And there's other surprises too near the end. Hinting at big things to come. And this book also does a thing that I love when comics do, where they drop tiny little hints of stories that haven't been told yet.
Oh yeah.
There's a great like double page spread of showing us like Superman fighting Doomsday at different points in time. And we see when they fought back in the 90s and that kind of thing. And down in the corner, there's a Superman and a Doomsday fighting that I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
And then, the Time Trapper is talking to Superman, and I'm not going to spoil it, but he says something about, oh, I noticed this about you, which means that this hasn't happened yet. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Are we going to see that? Is that going to be a thing? Like, I love when like, you'll see like a chalkboard in the background, and there's all this stuff, the great battle of whatever. You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
So I love when comics do that. But fantastic issue of Superman outside of Justice League Unlimited and the Absolute books. I think this is the best book that DC's putting out. I love it's one of the best books on the stands.
And there's something that the Time Trapper tells him that's like, he's fighting Doomsday right now, but there could be worse things coming.
Yeah. And he even says, Superman even says, what's worse than Doomsday? But I don't know.
And then it cuts to showing you something else at that point, which is like, okay, I'm in. So, if you're not reading Superman right now, you could even probably start with the previous issue.
You could definitely start with issue number 19 and go. Yeah. And you'll be fine.
And you'll have a ton of fun with all the action and just such cool stuff going on in Superman.
Oh, it's great. So this is our A cover right here. We have this really nice Dan Panosian Lois Lane variant, and I just say I love the way DC's been handling Lois Lane over the last few years. She's just one of my favorite characters. So there's that one, and we have this really cool 1 in 25 Dave Johnson variant that looks like an old school. It has the X-ray specs down here, and Superman's fighting a weird. Oh, that's Brainiac.
Yeah, it's a really cheesy version of Brainiac.
Yeah, it's done with like nice duotone and everything. That's really cool. We're selling that one for $19.99.
It's like an old, like mail away to get this fun thing. I think there's the one coming up for another issue where it's got like the springy shoes.
So you can
leap tall buildings and stuff. Okay, next up, I got a new one from Marvel. This is West Coast Avengers #1 by Jerry Duggan and Danny Kim. And this is really interesting. So this is definitely like within the current continuity because of Iron Man and all the stuff that's going on with him. In his book, he doesn't have his traditional suit. But also this kind of picks up right in the middle. Like we're not at the very beginning of this story. We're a little bit into it because Iron Man has already created this new West Coast Avengers, which of course is a thing that's existed before. Which there's a really fun throwback to that in the book. But he has started this new West Coast Avengers, but it's a little bit different. This time there are villains on the team, but kind of villains that are wanting to reform and change their image. But what does that mean when there's Ultron on the team? And we don't even fully know what this all means in this issue, because since we did come into it a little bit later, um, we have, is it Spider-Woman that's talking to him about it? And it's like, are you sure about this? And he's like, I've got this under control.
Yeah, he's like, and if something goes wrong, I've got a plan.
Yeah, which is like, okay, but
are you sure?
You know, he rewrote time one time and all this crazy stuff. I hope you can do this. But you do see Ultron like being a hero and talking to people, and he's like a mix of like super heroic, like but also like very like he processes stuff, so he's very like matter of fact, but he is a hero. And it's a weird vibe. I guess he kind of comes across like an early version of Vision or something like
if
that.
Vision were even more robotic.
So that's a really, that's kind of the crux of this is we have this new team and Ultron's a member of it and there's a few others. But it looks like, it's definitely like if you mess up, you're off the team and you're back to jail. This is kind of you got let out to help us on these missions. But there's the other problem that Tony does not have his suit. And when he has to go up against some villains, what does he do? He heads back to an old warehouse he has that's full of some classic West Coast Avenger stuff. And it's no spoiler because it's up there on the cover. His Silver Centurion suit is the one he picks, but with some modifications because
it's old.
It's been sitting there in a long time. But you do also see some fun nods in there to classic West Coast Avengers stuff.
And the Silver Centurion armor is one of my absolute favorites. I loved seeing that.
He says in it that it's his favorite armor, which I think is fun too. There's one goofy part since he can't fly, how he makes his way back to him. He's riding something and he's wearing a helmet. And I thought, why do you need a helmet when you're like wearing that?
When you're wearing your helmet, he's got a helmet on a helmet.
It's it's goofy, but you've got other members of the team: Blue Bolt, who is a former villain, War Machine, Spider-Woman, and there's hints of characters to join to come. But the big part of this is, and I can't even allude to it because it's such a big spoiler, but what the overall story is going to be or what it seems like they are leading to. I mean, there's even kind of a title for something to come in this book that happens at the end. So I'm not going to allude to it because it would spoil too much, but it's almost like an event that's given a name, because then it says on the next page like a black thing, and it's like West Coast Avengers, the title coming 2025. So it seems like they're gearing up for a big story, if not event, but definitely I'm guessing it'll probably cross over with something at some point. But there's something big that happens in it that I'll say kind of defines, I guess, what this series is going to be going forward. So if you are a fan of the West Coast Avengers, some of these characters, it was a fun first issue, but it definitely was a introductory issue to kind of what's going on, and the real story seems to going to be kick in probably in issue 2 now that we have the knowledge of how this book ends.
I couldn't remember what it was called. Now I'm wondering.
Right there.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's got a big thing coming up.
Yeah, that is neat.
But so we've got West Coast Avengers #1. If anything, it's just got a great armor. It's really funny. Jerry Duggan is a really funny writer. And that's another plus to this. We've got some great variants for it as well. We've got a Lee variant with Spider-Woman, which I love her. She doesn't do a whole lot in this issue, but hopefully going forward she'll be in it a bit more. We have a Sean Galloway variant, which I love this one.
This one.
Yeah, this one is awesome. This is the Adam Hughes foil variant, and no spoilers, but there's maybe a character that's going to be joining the team.
There's maybe a character on that cover right there.
I'm not going to say which one, but there might be a character on here that will join the team. We also have some incentives. We've got a 1 in 10 variant with Blue Bolt. We're selling for $5.99. Do you know much about Blue Bolt?
No.
Because he's just there when it starts, and I was like, I don't even really know what his powers are, or like who he's a villain for. So if you know, let us know in the comments. We also have this one, which he doesn't look so much of a good guy on here, but this is the 1 in 25 variant with some 14.99 with Ultron, which he doesn't look that maniacal in it.
Right.
He's kind of just regular looking. And then we also have a 1 in 50 of the Elite cover, this time a Virgin version for $49.99.
All right, I'm sticking with DC a little bit longer. This is Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns #1. This is a follow up to last year's Batman Santa Claus Silent Night miniseries. This is written by Jeff Parker and the art is by Lucas Kettner. In this one, well, first of all, this is gonna be a weekly series. I think it's 5 parts. The last issue comes out on December 26th. So from now till the end of Christmas or till Christmas, every week we're gonna have a new issue of this. So it should be a lot of fun. In this one, the Justice League travels to Egypt to take on a monster there, and this monster, I don't know, monster being whatever, but it looks like this big fancy empty suit of armor, and it's petrifying people there, like literally like turning them to stone or like sucking out their life force or something. And so the Justice League are fighting it, and it manages to pull them into this other realm. Except Damian is able to escape, and he goes to Zatanna for help because this creature, this being, is very magic based, but she's not really sure what to do, what she can do to help. But while they're talking about it, next to Zatanna's Christmas tree, and then poof, Santa Claus appears from the chimney, and he says, "Oh, I heard you through the tree," and that kind of thing. And he says,
"He's that old nugget. I heard
"Yeah,
you through the tree."
I wasn't eavesdropping, I swear." But he says that he knows what this monster is, and it actually has ties back to last year's series, which I thought was pretty cool. So this is mostly a setup issue, getting the characters in place to then go do the big thing that we're going to see them do over the course of the series. But the page where Santa Claus appears, it's this really nice full page splash, and the design of Santa looks so cool. It looks very much like Dan Mora's Klaus. If you've ever read that, like when he's this big barbarian, he's got an axe on his back and everything. There's also a really cool panel that homages The Dark Knight Returns, but with Santa Claus and Damien instead of Batman and Carrie Kelly, yeah. So yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, this is just a fun holiday book. We're gonna get one issue every week, leading all the way into Christmas. It'll be fun to read as we get closer to that. So there is our A cover right there. We got this really nice Dan Mora variant that looks so good. Dan Mora's doing covers into full issues. That's crazy. This is the poly bag. I don't know what the cover to this looks like. Do you know
what the cover looks like, but I have smelled that.
Oh, does it have
it's a rub and sniff.
Is it?
Yeah, you could probably actually.
Oh, it smells like
pine.
Like pine, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it smells like a tree. Yeah, so I don't know what the cover looks like, but that is polybag to look like wrapping paper. But yeah, you can sniff it.
Order it now, and you may get the actual comic that we sniffed.
That we sniffed, yeah. That one goes for a little bit more, though, And then we have this 1 in 25 thirst trap Santa that I don't know. Oh, it's
I think it's Kevin Wada.
Kevin Wada, yeah. We're selling that for $19.99. That's on Santa's OnlyFans.
Only Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, I've got one that I really liked, and it's probably one of my top favorite ones this week. This is Black Canary, Best of the Best, #1. This is a new. Is it under Black Label?
No, it has the All In. Well, I thought it had the All In branding on it, but no, it's not Black Label. And actually, I remember Tom King saying on social media back when this was announced that this is part of the regular continuity.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So. This is, but very much like some of his other books, like Mr. Miracle or Strange Adventures. I believe this is going to be a 12-issue kind of maxi series.
Oh, really? I thought it was only 6.
Oh, it might be.
I don't know.
Maybe it's 6.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know anything. But this is
maybe it's 30. Who knows?
So, Tom King, Ryan Sook, and this, if it is part of the main continuity, it's not necessarily like heavy into the continuity, like, well, what's currently going on and everything. This could definitely be just a standalone story.
Yeah, it could easily be a Black Label book, but according to Tom King, it's main continuity. Okay.
Yeah. So in this, Black Canary is known as the best of the best in hand-to-hand combat. She was trained by the best. There's versions where like she helped train Batman or Batman trained with her. All of that. She was trained by her mother, who was the previous Black Canary back during like the Justice Society days. But she would be the best of the best if it wasn't for Lady Shiva, who is the assassin, the mother of Cassandra Cain. She is kind of known more now as the best hand-to-hand combatant. But to figure out who really is, they are going to have a like in-ring fight that is going to be huge. Now they talk about this because it's really cool that because of her being part of the Justice League and everything, that Black Canary is known like galaxy wide, and they're going to show this. This is going to be the biggest televised event uh, from locally on Earth all the way. We see like screens up and with weird aliens watching it and everything. This is going to be one of the biggest events. And most of this book is narrated by the kind of ringside announcers, which is really fun because they give you kind of the who's who about the characters, but in a way of saying, coming into the ring, weighing this height, hailing from here. And we learn about the characters through a lot of that, and we learn more about their like combat skills and everything. And it's really interesting that this is a really personal thing for Dinah Lance, that she is living up to her mother's legacy of doing this and everything. And so part of this is a like full out fight, no powers, but you can pretty much do anything else between the two. There's going to be multiple rounds and everything, but just a slugfest between Shiva and Black Canary that is pretty brutal. Like, there's blood within the first couple of hits, and but a big thing in this is people are really betting on Shiva as kind of the shoe-in to win. All of this is kind of the weight of stuff that's going on with her family, with her mother. She goes to visit her mother. I won't say too much about it, but
it goes back and forth between the fight and her visiting with her mother, and those moments were really good.
Yeah, those moments are really good, and you get a lot of like personality and stuff from Black Canary. It does sound like she's, because her mother has a training area too for when she was Black Canary. But it does sound like Ted Grant, like Wildcat's, going to be joining them to train and everything, which I can't wait for. But she's dealing with that, and she's dealing with the pressure of like, people don't really believe in me. They don't believe that I can do all this. And this is a really like good introspective look at who Black Canary is and her relationships and all that. Because also we see the Justice League and friends of Black Canary have all gathered in front of a TV. I was trying to figure out whose house it was at.
I think it was Oliver Queen's place.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But they're all in like civilian clothes sitting on the couch. You've got, but it's like people that are closer to her. So it's like Elongated Man, Martian Manhunter, some of her like Justice Society friends, but also Clark and Lois are there.
Yeah, Hal Jordan's
there. Barry's there. You have Aquaman and Mara just coming in. They all brought snacks.
Yeah.
It's such a fun moment. And you kind of get their commentary also on all of this. But without giving away, there is a big kind of plot twist at the very end that has you questioning a lot of motives and this fight that's going on and everything.
Yeah, we do learn why she's doing this.
Yeah, we learn why she's doing it, and it feels like that's also going to be a big part of this going forward, is her integrity is also at stake in this. But this is fantastic. If you're a fan of Tom King, his writing, it is pretty wordy, but it's all really fun. It's all really, like, it serves the story. But it's like, even in the fights, there's a lot of commentary going on and everything.
My description that I put in my notes is the way to describe this series. I said, did you watch the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight that was streamed on Netflix to 60 million people? This is that, except it's Lady Shiva and Black Canary. It's being streamed to 2 billion people across the planet, and basically every planet in the galaxy.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's kind of like the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, just better.
Yeah, just better.
Just better.
They're both really good.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I did a good job explaining this, because I really liked it. It's a very I said it's a very mature read.
Yeah.
But not in the way of like, it's 18 plus or anything. It's just like the way
the themes and the
way
heavy.
the story crafted and everything is a more mature book, like a lot of Tom King's writing.
Yeah. And I looked up, this is going to be 6 issues.
Okay.
But the whole miniseries is going to be this fight interspersed with moments of her and her mom and other things too. But we're not gonna. This issue is only the first round.
Right.
So we're gonna see more rounds.
If each issue is going to be a round.
Yeah, it could be.
Because
Yeah.
it kind of feels like it's setting.
Which I think is really creative because you might think, oh, the match is going to be the first issue, and then what's the rest of the series? No, the entire series is this one match.
Yeah.
Just other stuff thrown in.
Yeah. So I thought it was fantastic. Give it a shot. I think you'll really like it. That's what the interiors look like.
It looks great too. It looks so good.
It's so good. Mm-hmm. It's so like detailed and everything. So that is your A cover right there. And we have this really awesome Otto Schmidt cover that has Black Canary on it. Basically every look she's ever had, from animated to live action to one time she was a shark. It's crazy. It's so fun to look at all of those.
I had no idea she had even anywhere near that many costumes. I thought she had maybe like 5.
No, there's ones in here where she's got like a mech backpack and stuff. Really, really cool. Just fun to kind of pour over and check out.
And it's everything. Like when she had Green Lantern's ring in Deceased, like anytime she wore a different.
Her from
costume.
The
Birds of Prey
movie. Yeah. Very, very fun. That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, I've got Hyde Street #2. We loved the first one. We loved the Devour one shot, and now we have the second issue of Hyde Street. And just like how the first issue was all about Mr. X-Ray and who he was before he became whatever he is now on Hyde Street, this issue focuses on Pranky, who was the Boy Scout, right? And this shows us what he was like and who he was when he was a normal kid before he... I don't know what they are, demons or I don't know what they are.
It's basically like they wandered onto Hyde Street and were like given a opportunity,
like a contract.
And I think because of that, they kind of became supernatural.
Yeah, these supernatural beings. Well, we see Pranky
because they were all, it seems to be human.
Yeah, yeah. So we do see Pranky before all that happened, and he was a kid back in 1955. And it seems like he had a pretty crummy life. His dad was abusive to him. His teachers were mean to him. And he joined the Boy Scouts to try to find a sense of belonging, but his scout leader and his fellow scout troops were also terrible to him. And he does, let's just say he does, he does get even with them in a way, but I won't tell you how. But it's really like, I was like, I flipped the page, I was like, oh my gosh.
It's fine. It's
in a fun way.
In a fun way.
Yeah.
It's very, very creative.
Yeah, for sure. So we see his backstory, but only part of the issue is that. The rest of the issue takes place now when he is, whatever he is, on Hyde Street, getting souls for the Soul Keeper, like we saw in last issue. And in this one, he's he's like in a diner having some ice cream or something, and a cop wanders in, and he mouths off to the cop, and the cop does not appreciate his comments and says, "We're throwing you downtown. We're going to throw you in the back, right?" And then I am not going to say anything more than that because there's a lot more to that, but I would spoil everything, and I want you to see this as you're turning the pages because things escalate very quickly over the course of the second half of the book.
Yeah, we'll say that, like, just like in the first one, the people who get their comeuppance, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why, but there's fun ways that whatever these creatures are, what Pranky is, kind of lead these people into their own trap. We saw that with even in the first one where there's like the old woman he helped cross the street. They kind of like fall into it themselves. And it's very interesting how all of the mechanics of that work.
So we also, near the end, we learn a little bit more about the scorekeeper, who is kind of the one running all this stuff, and what the goal of the residents of Hyde Street, like what they have to do, why they're doing it, that kind of thing. But there's still a whole lot more, so we still have a lot more questions to learn. But this is, the first issue was awesome, the Devour one-shot was awesome, and this is every bit as good as that. It's just cool to we have so many horror anthology books, which I love, but this is an ongoing horror story that focuses on the quote-unquote bad guys, not like the hero of the story, right? It's cool to have that. Plus, the art by Ivan Rice doing this kind of story when we're used to seeing him do superhero stories, it's just really cool. So, if you love the first issue, you are going to love this, and you're going to want to pick it up.
Yeah, I will say this series, after 2 issues and one shot, is up there probably in my top 5 favorite books coming out. Every page is beautiful. And it's that sense of like, I have not read anything like this. Like you said, we're used to anthology. where I don't know, is there going to be a hero that emerges here? It's that fun mystery of like, I can't wait to find out what happens in the next one, because we're only given just a little hint about the scorekeeper. There's something about when the environment he's in there's something different about it, and it's like, oh, what's this all about? And it just feels so rich. A thing, that's all of like Jeff Johns stuff at Ghost Machine. Geiger, there's such a world that you're like, I want to explore this whole world, and that even though this is very different than that, it still has that same feeling of discovery.
So it's great. Highest recommendation. So there's our A cover right there. There's Pranky and that cop talking in that diner. There is
that scene doesn't necessarily happen.
Where it doesn't happen like fire, that,
but it might as well. Might,
for sure. We have this Schneesberg variant, and we have this Peralta variant.
This is one that's like, I wish I could have the next 5 issues right now, because I would just blow through them.
Oh yeah.
I know we've got one coming up. I forgot what the character's name is, but he's like a classic movie monster.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we know we have a whole bunch more characters.
Yeah.
We've seen the names of the characters up on this scoreboard, so it's like, I can't wait to meet them. Yeah.
And that's really important once you read this one. When you learn what the score is for, and then that reflects on the scoreboard, you see like, oh, I wonder what this character will do once they hit a certain score or whatever. I could talk about that one forever.
That's awesome.
Next up, speaking of Ghost Machine and Schneesberg, I'm sure we're butchering his name every time we say it, but there's
apologies.
There's more J's in it than there are in a normal name. This is Hornsby and Halo #1. This is written by Peter J. Tomasi and the artist by Peter Schneesberg. This is so much fun. So this was the one, to be transparent, when we read the Ghost Machine one shot that had a little bit of it, was probably my least favorite. But it was because it was a little bit harder to see the potential.
Yeah, I remember thinking, what is this? I don't really know what this is at the time. But it was only 5 pages, right?
It was 5 pages, and it was like, how is this going to be fleshed out into an ongoing series? This felt like at most a mini series. Well, after reading this, I get it, and I am so on board for it now. So we are introduced in the beginning to this war that has been happening between heaven and hell. They fight in this place called like the Void or the Abyss or something like that. I don't quite remember. And there's kind of a mediator that's not on either side that we're introduced to as well. But we are introduced mainly to these 2 children. One of them, of course, is a little devil girl named Rose, and the other is a little angel boy named Zachary. And they're really little at this point, but they seem to be the heirs of the thrones of their respective places. This gave me very much feels of New Gods and Apocalypse and like the deal that happened with Mr. Miracle and Orion and everything, because to create a truce after millions of their legions have died in this fight, they decide, we're going to take the heirs of our kingdoms, and we're going to put them on Earth, and by kind of a third party, and the angel is going to be given to a family that more resembles a they're not a good family. They're pretty dark, and the devil girl is going to be given to a good, like, great family that has great, like, morals and everything. And they say it's mostly so as they grow up, they can see how the other...
Right.
They have a better, well-rounded idea of how this works. But that is what this book about, is these 2 kids, while they grow up, they don't know their legacy. They don't know where they're from or anything. But that's soon going to change, because we kind of see, it's a nature... They're really harping on nature versus nurture. And so now Rose, who is the devil child, is like a really sweet girl and everything, whereas Zachary is a little bit more of a rambunctious kid. But something is going to happen, and it involves his pretty dark family who run a funeral home that maybe aren't doing such ethical things. Something happens with that is going to draw out the truth about these 2 characters on their birthday. So I wonder if it has something to do with like they hit a certain age and then
I'm not sure.
Come into their being. But I don't want to give too much away, but that's kind of the setup for it. And then I'm excited to see where it goes after this because we know in this there's hints of like these agents that are also watching them as they grow up to make sure everything is good. And it seems like they have a lot to fulfill in their lives that they're just going to learn about. But it was great. I really like the art. Peter J. Tomasi writes kids so well. They're so believable. Really likable characters already. You get a good sense of them. So if you were maybe like me, not necessarily on the fence, but when you read all of them, this is maybe the one that you had the most questions about or whatever. Give it a chance because I think a lot of people really like this one as well. So this is more in line with like Rockefellers in tone of it's not quite as like grim and gritty as Geiger or Rook Exodus or anything like that.
Well, and it is under the Family Odyssey sub imprint of Ghost Machine with the Rockefellers.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's not like a kids book. Anything about that. Yeah. Like it's still got some high stakes to it and everything. So I really liked it. Definitely give it a chance, especially if you've enjoyed a lot of the Ghost Machine stuff, because it feels like it falls right in line with all of those as well. I even saw kind of there's one part where you see a Junkyard Joe. Did you see that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a Junkyard Joe that appears in this.
Nice.
I just like those little references to each of the books.
It's like when a Pixar movie puts in like a Nemo or something in the background.
So there is your A cover. We also have this one, which is awesome. This is the Ivan Rice variant. I like how they kind of trade artists to each of their books to see the different styles. And we have this 1 in 25 Dave Johnson variant we're selling for at $19.99, and you can see kind of what the characters look like once they're in their true forms.
All right, well, I've got Iron Man #2, this new series from Spencer Ackerman and the art is by Julius Ota. And first things first, last issue we saw Tony build a new low-tech suit of armor, but we didn't see him wear it because he was building it at the end. But in this issue, we see him wear it a lot. So you finally see the brand new armor. It's new armor, but it's low-tech. It's got a lot of exposed gears and wires and that kind of thing.
Very steampunk.
Yeah, for sure. So Tony is still trying to reason with the members of the board of Stark Industries to not sell the company to Roxxon and AIM, but they're like, no, it's almost a done deal. We just got to vote on it. We're definitely doing this. So he gets some help sabotaging part of Roxxon's oil pipeline as a way to. He's like, well, what if Roxxon can't get oil to the country? What's going to happen? And he blows up part of their pipeline to do it. And then after that, he travels to AIM's headquarters because he wants to confront their scientist supreme, a woman named Monica Rappaccini. And in that meeting, when he's talking to her, he finds out who it was that created the mystical virus that corrupted all of his armors, which is the reason he built this low-tech suit of armor to begin with. He finds out who made that virus to begin with, and it's someone that we know, but we haven't seen them in a really long time. And he was actually pretty distraught to find it too, because he said, kind of a betrayal there. And there's a pretty trippy sequence where that mystical character, kind of messes with Tony's mind a little bit. But that does eventually lead us to a very cool final page. And if you've seen the cover for #3 where he's got a giant sword, we see that sword in this issue. I just want to go ahead and tell you that too. But this was cool. I like this. It does kind of feel like we've seen this story before of Tony trying to wrestle control of his corporation away from bad guys. But those stories are fun. It's always cool to see how he goes about doing that. And now he doesn't have all of his toys to go with it. He's got just like this sort of rinky-dink low-tech armor that doesn't have all the bells and whistles. So if you enjoyed the first one, you're gonna like this one, I think. And I do want to see where it goes. So we have our A cover right there, and we have, I love these. This is the Abon Coelho Thing variant, so that's the Thing, but it's not the Thing wearing Iron Man's armor. He has like the rocky hide, but he looks like Iron Man.
And it's a homage.
Oh yeah, and homage as well. And we have this 1 in 25 Daikuren cover that we're selling for $24.99, and that's a good look at his low-tech armor.
And sword.
Yeah.
Okay, next up I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4, and every issue of this, I'm like, no, this is my favorite issue.
Right.
But they're all great in their own way. So this one is the spotlight, and this one is on Donatello with art by Chris Burnham. And we've seen a little bit of Donatello's story in that Ninja Turtles Alpha issue, where we saw him in this zoo where bad people pay to come and fight and potentially kill mutants that are there. Uh, and that is where Donatello is. So we saw a little bit of this story, not this one, but kind of what was up with Donatello at that point. But this picks up in during that time where he is in this zoo, and he is wasted away. I said he looks like Kermit the Frog. Like he's got the skinniest little arms, skinniest little legs.
He needs a sandwich.
Yeah, very badly. But he still has that sense of justice when the people come to like pick which creature they're gonna fight. Because there are some other ones in there. He tries his best to be the one that they pick because he knows he can defend himself and everything. But he is getting weaker and weaker as that goes on, and his mind starts to go as well, where he, is talking to himself, and there is even a rat that is in there that he starts referring to as Master Splinter, even though this is just a generic rat. But he still has that sense of justice, and he is learning while he's in there, which I love. It's a very Donatello thing of like memorizing guards' patterns and everything, because he is going to attempt to escape. But I don't want to give too much away, but this is a great issue with a lot of great action as he does have to try to defend himself. It's funny. It's dark.
It's kind of sad.
It is very sad. Kind of a mix of all of that stuff. But, this is the fourth issue. This is the last of the spotlight issues on each of the Turtles. And it looks like the next one we may have all the Turtles together.
Well, so the next one is the end of this first story arc, and I think it's going to be heavy on Casey Jones.
Right.
And then 6 is where the next story arc starts, and Juan Ferreira comes in as the regular artist and that kind of thing.
But yeah, when they were teasing this, it was like 4 first issues of the 4 Turtles. And we've seen kind of the Turtles meet up at the end of each issue. But I would say, this one is maybe the darkest and saddest, but also maybe one of the most entertaining ones. So if you're reading it, continue to read it. It's fantastic, and it continues to be so with issue number 4. That is your A cover. We also have, of course, a Kevin Eastman variant. And we have a Chris Burnham cover, which that's your interior artist there. And that's kind of a good look at how skinny he's become. But some scenes he looks even smaller than that.
All right, well, I've got Green Arrow number 18. Now, the previous issue was the first issue of Green Arrow in the new All-In era, but most of that issue was still from Joshua Williamson and Sean Isaacs wrapping up their big story that they've been telling, and there was only a little bit at the back that was kind of almost like a prologue to this next story arc, and that was the first little bit that we got with your new creative team of Chris Condon and Montos. So this issue is the first full issue of the new creative team, part 1 of this new story arc. This is where it all starts right here. This issue is way more grounded and gritty than the whole series has been so far. Basically the gist is there's this series of murders that have happened across Star City, and the victims they're all connected. They either worked for or had ties to this company called Horton Chemical, this big chemical plant, this big chemical company. And we see in a flashback that Oliver Queen actually has ties to that company and the people who are being murdered as well. And he used to know the victims, so he's going to go out and investigate these murders. And there's actually not much more to it than that. It's a pretty simple issue. It actually feels like a Batman story because you have, Green Arrow sees the news about these murders on TV. He has the flashback. And then at like 2 a.m, he sneaks into the apartment where the guy was murdered, and he's like slinking through the dark and like looking for clues. It feels very Batman in that way. And so there's going to be more to learn. I'm sure there's going to be more to it, but yeah, it's a lot more, grounded. Like there's no other member of the Green Arrow family in this. It's just Green Arrow. We do get a good look at his new suit now. He's got kind of sort of a cape kind of thing, and he's got a scarf that he pulls up over his mouth sometimes. So yeah, just a lot more grounded, kind of grim and gritty so far. A detective story with Green Arrow, but it's still really good. Like I like this kind. It made me get sort of harken back to the. Um,
Longbow Hunters.
Yeah, Longbow Hunters and that era, Denny O'Neil and all that kind of stuff. Sort of gave me that vibe a little bit, especially with the art and everything. Little tastes of Neil Adams and stuff here and there. Really cool. So yeah, much different tone of Green Arrow, but one that works for him. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this really awesome Gilliam March variant with Black Canary, who is currently fighting Lady Shiva. Not on this cover, but in the comics. And this awesome, shoot, I didn't get the artist. Gilliam March foil cover with Green Arrow and Black Canary.
Another one of my favorite couples in
yeah.
comics.
Oh yeah, they're great.
You say that like, oh yeah, I went to dinner the other night with them. They're great.
They're delightful people. Yeah.
Okay, next up, I've got Amazing Spider-Man number 62. And this storyline has been really fun so far. We've only gotten one issue before this, but I'm really enjoying this as Doom has made Spider-Man kind of his right hand, not right hand man, but like
he's like lieutenant or sergeant or something like that, Yeah, right.
Like to take care of stuff he just doesn't have time for. So he's currently...
Or that he can't be bothered to do,
He can't be bothered with, that's the most Doom thing.
Right.
Like, he can't be bothered with
these... It's beneath me.
These demons that are trying to take over. But in this, Spider-Man and Black Cat and Doctor Strange in astral form are trying to break into the Sanctum Sanctorum to get out some books so Spider-Man can get a little bit better at his magic use, because... Doctor Strange is very critical about the way he uses his magic.
He's not great at it.
But they also, it's really fun. They poke fun at each other and everything. But Spider-Man is having to fight these scions of Sidorak. Is that right?
Scions of Sidorak.
Which we learn a bit more about why he's having to fight these, why this even happens periodically, which is really fun. But what I like in this is Spider-Man has his own layer with magic, and it uses a little bit of science as well.
Yeah.
He uses his like science brain mixed with the magic to be like, I wonder if this is true, and now I can like do this, magic experiment to see it, because he fights against one named Cyperion, one of the scions that attacks, and I don't want to give it away, but he works through an idea that he has to see if it's true, and then you get one of the coolest like fight moments ever because of that. But of course, this is the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man story. Does he use up another life in this? You have to read to find out. But probably, because it's if you got 8, he's not gonna end this with all 8. But there's some great Peter Parker moments in this as well. Just kind of back to a classic feeling Peter that's...
Except that he's now a sorcerer.
He's a sorcerer, but other than that, when he's not in the suit and everything, he's got some funny jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
He's more concerned with pizza than he is like getting his job done, and so I don't know. It was all really fun, and I really liked this issue.
Yeah.
So I'm on board for this storyline. Plus, his suit is really cool.
It is cool. And Ed McGuinness's art, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
So great.
Yeah, fantastic art. So that is your A cover. We also have, of course, our Spider-Man Scotty Young cover.
I'm getting all these for this story.
And I like
so much
that
fun.
It has the little like tombstone up there as well to show what part it's in. And then we also have this 1 in 25 variant that shows you a better picture of his suit, and we selling it for $14.99. But yeah, really cool scarf thing.
Yeah. Well, I've got Detective Comics number 1091. This is the second part of the story arc that started last issue with the new All-In era, with the new creative team of Tom Taylor and Michael Janin. And this issue was awesome. Like, I liked it even better than the last one, and I really liked the last one. So basically the gist is there have been 9 kids that are in their late teens who have all been murdered in the last month. And the only thing that connects them is that they were all recently released from juvie. And we saw a little bit of that last issue, and we get more information about that here. And Batman and Robin, they go out to help another kid when he gets abducted. but he's abducted for a different reason, and that kind of leads to another part of the story. But there's also this other part of this whole story that we saw last issue that we see more of in here, with Bruce Wayne, Batman, contemplating taking this drug that will make him feel more youthful, that will get all the aches and pains out of his joints and his bones, and make him stronger and faster. Just like a younger version of himself. It's a big decision though, and it's nothing shady either. It's not like some magical thing. It's just like a drug that this pharmaceutical company has come up with.
And he's like friends with the people who run the pharmaceutical. Yeah.
So it's not super shady. He's just wondering. He's contemplating the ethics of doing it because it's extremely expensive. It's only available to the rich and powerful, and he feels weird. He's like, why should I have this when other people can't? So it's weighing on him a lot. And there is a great scene where he calls in another character for advice, and they have a great conversation. It's a wonderful 2 or 3 pages. Probably my favorite part of the whole book so far. And we do see what he decides. I'm not going to tell you if he goes with it or not, but we do. It's not like it's lingering. We do see him make a decision about it. It's just really cool. Like there's a bunch of cool different little parts to this story.
Penguin's in it.
Penguin's in it.
Like I like in this because Batman has a real conversation with Penguin. Yeah. It's not like he just comes in and immediately punches. They have kind of like hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
The type thing. It's not the part you're talking about, but
yeah, it's different. Yeah,
it's different, but it's I don't know. This is like another one of my favorite books I read this week, and like I am all in on this detective because there's also subtle things that we didn't get into, but about something that happened in the previous issue about Batman like questions something that he did.
Yeah, right.
That like causes him to have these nightmares and stuff. It's a very complex, but not in a confusing way, but just there's a lot of elements to it that are building this really interesting story.
Yeah, really cool. So highly recommended. We're barreling on to issue number 1100. That should be cool. Artwork, story, everything about this is great. So that's our A cover right there. We have this really cool Bruno Redondo. Holy cow, I should have realized that. Bruno Redondo's got the nice duotone and everything right there. And we have this 1 in 25 Ashley variant that we're selling for $19.99.
Next up, I've got Star Wars Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege number 2. And I really like this issue. Just continuing this maxi series, this 12-parter. Luke and Ren, the new character we met in the very beginning of this series. No shocker in the last one. They said a surprise character, but they end up being on the cover and everything. Meet up with Dr. Aphra, who it's great because this is the first time we've seen her out of the original trilogy timeline. She informs Luke that like, hey, you've been running around looking for this like Jedi artifact and stuff, but maybe this was actually a distraction to get you away from the New Republic. And I won't give away what happens there, but it is really interesting. Plus, they fight this like giant rat thing that's just really horrifying looking. And meanwhile, you've got Adelhard, who is like the big villain of this, who's been going around and making alliances with the acolytes of the Beyond, the kind of like dark side users that are trying to resurrect Palpatine and stuff, and some crime syndicates. He's going around to all these people trying to build up kind of this new version of the Empire, but there are other former Imperial officers and like high-ranking people who all meet together to be like, I don't think this is good. I think we might need to put a stop to what Adelhard is doing. And that's really interesting as well. But I'm really enjoying this series. It's very fast-paced. Every issue feels like it jumps and jumps and jumps to, the next thing. But that's really good, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Plus, I believe there's a character that's not named in here. It could be a character we know, or it could be a new character. You'll see them on the variant, so it's not going to be too much of a shocker, but I'll talk about it when I pull that out. But there is your A cover. And then here is the variant. This is the Barin's variant. So I'm not sure if this is Bosk or not. He's not wearing his like traditional Bosk costume, which was actually a costume from Doctor Who that they just used. But it looks a little bit different, so I'm not sure this is the Transdoshan or actually Bosk. And then there's this guy who does appear briefly. And it does say these are bounty hunters, and I don't know if that's like supposed to be IG-88's head stuck on his eye or whatever, but at least I believe it's the first appearance of that guy, if not both of them, but we'll have to see. But that kind of throws a new element into the story as well.
I've got Spider-Boy. Yeah, I've got Spider-Boy number 13, and we wanted to highlight this one for a minute because this is the first appearance of Hulkette, who you will see in a variant cover here in a second. She's only in a few pages, and we don't really learn anything about her, but we do see her in a pretty cool action sequence against Spider-Boy. That's pretty cool. But the whole gist of this issue is that Daredevil's in this a lot. It's really cool. Daredevil and Spider-Boy travel to Madripoor to participate in the Challenge of the Jade Dragon, which is the world's greatest 2-on-2 tournament. So it's basically a fight with a master and an apprentice versus another master and apprentice. So we have Daredevil and Spider-Boy, we have Bullseye and Spider-Girl, and there's some other participants there that we meet as well. And they are doing this because, like I said, Bullseye and Spider-Girl are also participating in that tournament, and they say that the winner of the tournament wins the world. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like it would be something bad if Bullseye were to win it. So Daredevil and Spider-Boy also did compete to try to stop them. And it's really cool. Like it's like I said, a lot of Daredevil. I really like him a lot. Spider-Boy is, his Spider-Boy, who's a 10-year-old kid, having to explain to his mom how they're going to Madripoor is really fun. So a really fun issue of Spider-Boy. Lots of stuff going on here. So there's our A cover with Spider-Girl. So here is Hulkette right there. So that we do see her. This is her first appearance. I think she's one of those characters that was on one of the New Champions variants from several months back, but she's never been in a story until now. So that's her right there. It says introducing. It's crossed out and says fighting, and they do fight. They do fight. So it's really cool. We have this Thing variant from Chrissy Zullo. The other variant was from Mark Bagley. And then we have this really cool 1 in 10 Michael Cho design variant of Spider-Girl that we're selling for $7.99. And I should mention too, we learn a lot more about Spider-Girl in this too. We learn her real name. We learn why she can do the things that she can do. There's a flashback to how she and Bullseye met. So yeah, that's a big important part of this issue too. So yeah, really cool.
Are you gonna mention the art too? That it seems like.
Well, yeah, it seems like so. Paco Medina did the art of this. He's the only one credited, but there's a whole sequence that it looks like Humberto Ramos did.
Yeah.
And I love Humberto Ramos's art. So, but he's not credited anywhere in that book, so I'm not really sure what's up with that.
When you see it,
if
you're
obvious,
familiar with his work, you know it's him. He's probably has one of the most distinct styles. In modern comics. So, So, if that is Ramos, which we believe it is, hopefully get some credit for it somewhere.
Yeah, because it looks great.
It looks great. Next up, I've got Void Rivals at number 14. I don't want to say too much about this issue because there is a lot of spoilers in this. The trajectory of the series, we're learning more and more about kind of the nuts and bolts of this universe. And something, now that Derek is back at the ring, back with his people and everything, they get word that there is something, definitely, not like a meteor or something, but like a ship or something that is heading towards the ring, and they're not sure which side it's coming to, but it's coming at a very high velocity. And Derek volunteers to go out and see what it is. The other thing that I will say that is not really a spoiler because he's on the cover of the next issue is Hot Rod returns in this issue, which
my favorite Transformer, so I can't wait for that.
Which this, I'll say, maybe, I'm not sure. I would have to go back and look. Maybe the first story that does have an element from each of the worlds. A G.I. Joe element, Void Rivals, and Transformers all in one issue.
Wait, this one does or the next one does?
This one.
Okay, ooh, cool.
So, you'll have to check it out, but a very cool issue of Void Rivals. That is your A cover. And then we have a Hill variant. We have a Romero 1 in 10. We're selling for $5.99. And you might also be getting a new Handroid in this one.
Oh.
Because, he did give away his other one. And we have a 1 in 25 EJ Sue variant we're selling for $14.99.
Okay, nice. All right, well, I've got Ultimate Black Panther number 10, and I like this one a lot. I've been a little bit iffy on this series for the last couple issues, but I really like this one. So the first part of the issue, it's honestly it's just more arguing between T'Challa and Okoye about the war with Ra and Khonshu. Um,
There's a cool dream sequence.
yeah, I was gonna say T'Challa is having dreams about vibranium and fears that it may be corrupting Wakanda, but he won't. He doesn't really open up to Okoye about it, and that's always the problem with any comic book. Is like if the characters would just talk to each other, every problem would be solved, right? So there's a little bit about that at the beginning, but the cooler part of this book and the larger part of this book involves Storm and Killmonger and the new Sorceress Supreme that they rescued last issue. And it looks like she is this universe's version. I'm not going to say Doctor Strange, but she is referred to as the Sorceress Supreme in the solicitations.
And she does say her name.
Yeah, and that's my note too. We do learn her real name, but it's not a name that I recognize. So I'm thinking maybe this is a new character, kind of like how we have a new character as She-Hulk. We have a new character who is Hawkeye. It seems like there is a new character in this who is the Sorceress Supreme. Because she's on the cover of the next issue of number 11. And I was thinking, is that supposed to be Wanda? Is that Clea? Is that maybe Agatha Harkness? And she just looks different. She's none of those. Like, it's a whole new character. And I really like her a lot.
She does some stuff. She has that thing of, like, who's rescuing who.
Yeah.
And she does demonstrate her powers. And she does something that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen as they're on a boat.
Yeah, they are, because they're taking a boat back to Wakanda, and they're attacked by a helicopter that has some hand agents, which is those guys with the blue fuzzy face. We're going to see more of those next month in that Ultimate Universe 1 year in. But like I said, they get attacked by these guys, and yeah, my note just says the way the Sorcerer Supreme handles them is very cool.
Yeah,
and
very Aquaman.
Yeah, just wait to see it. It's awesome. I really like her though. She has a good personality. You know, she's not like super goth sorceress.
She's not like stoic.
Yeah,
she has a good conversation.
Yeah, especially once she gets to know Killmonger and Storm and realizes, oh, these guys aren't bad guys. They really did save me. They really are who they say they are. Yeah, we can work together. Really cool.
We don't know a whole lot about her yet, but I could see her at some point joining the Ultimates.
Yes.
And becoming like a character.
Or at least being a major part of this new universe. Yeah, for sure. This is not her first appearance though. That was last issue. But we see a lot more of her. We learn some more about her, and she is really cool. So I want to see more of her after this.
Yeah.
So there's our A cover right there, and we have this Sean Isaacs variant. And we have this 1 in 25. I don't have. Greg Land. Yeah. We're selling for $19.99.
And last book for me is Batman: The Dark Knight, Batman: The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, number 3. Not a whole lot to say about this one, just because it is continuing the story. Mark Chiarello does the art in this issue, which is great. And there is another, this time a near death of a major villain, because it is now Christmas. So they're going through the holidays. It is Christmas. And by people who are wearing Batman masks, which is really funny. It looks like a classic, like 66 plastic Batman mask. But the victim of this leads Batman and Robin on kind of a new hunt that is really cool. But there's some really clever character usage in here and everything that I really like. But just another really fun issue of Batman: The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween. There's your Tim Sale A cover. And your Art Trillo B cover, which Riddler is in this issue.
Okay, cool. You say that was your last one?
That was my last one.
I have a couple more to run through just real quick. We got Uncanny X-Men number 6. This is the start of a new story arc. And in this one, the outlier kids, the new kids that we've seen in this whole series so far, they go to school. But they're not wanted there by the kids who are there, and they have some problems. While they're doing that, Nightcrawler and Jubilee venture out into town to get some groceries, but they run into some trouble of their own. And this issue leads into the Raid on Grey Malkin 4-part crossover that's going to be between this book and Jed McKay's X-Men book. X-Men number 8, which comes out next. I don't know if it's next week, but it's the next like mainline X-Men book that comes out. That's going to be part 1. The next issue, this is going to be part 2, and then back and forth for 4 issues. But after this, and because of what we saw in the previous issue of X-Men, we now know why both teams are going to converge on Grey Malkin Prison, and you know why they're doing it. We know what the gist is now. I just don't know why they're at odds with each other, because it seems like they would be on common ground on this. But yeah, just another issue of Uncanny X-Men, start of a new story arc. So there's our A cover right there. We have this Adam Hughes Rogue variant. We have the Lubera, this nice Gambit variant. And then we have this 1 in 25 Paco Medina cover that we're selling for $14.99. Try to get that focus. There we go. And then just real quick, just to let you know that Venom War number 5 is out this week. This is it. This is the final part of the Venom War storyline. There's no more Venom War after this. There's no more tie-ins.
About this for 10 years?
Yeah, I think when my son was born, you know, he's in college now. No, but yeah, this is it. It all ends here. I can't really say much without spoiling everything, but I will say that in this we do see how this will lead into the upcoming all-new Venom series, as well as the upcoming Eddie Brock Carnage series. So we get those answers in here. We do see some gold in there. So yeah, so a cool final issue of that. That's our A cover, and then we do have the Clinton Crane variant with the Venom horse, because they really like this Venom horse, right? And then just super quick, because I don't have any notes on these, because we knew this was going to be a big week. Just wanted to let you know that Nightwing number 120 and the Flash number 15 both come out this week. These are both the second part of the new stories that started the previous issue when they started under the new All-In era. Both of them are very good. I especially love Nightwing and the artwork and everything. But like I said, ran out of time, but just wanted to let you know that both of these are out this week as well if you've been reading them.
Wow. What a big week in multiple ways. Heavy hitting books and number of books coming out. So it's imperative that you head over to infinityflux.net and order these books right now while supplies last, or come in. But, you know, people are going to be ordering them all the way until Wednesday and beyond. So supplies are limited, and you don't want to miss out on some of these books.
Especially on some of these variants, we only have maybe 1 or 2 copies. Yeah, so go to the website now and order those.
Yeah, very, very important you do that. We order up on the big books, but there's also just some surprise books that maybe we didn't get as many of, and then, turns out that's amazing. And it's even more helpful if you subscribe to the series. That way you don't even have to worry about ordering it each time it comes up. You just get it when it comes out. This thing we don't really mention too often, but subscribing to series is what we do, what is super helpful.
You set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it, just like an old crock pot.
Yeah, right.
But again, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments, what are you most excited to read this week? And when you do read them, let us know what you think, because we'd love to hear that as well. So we've got some scheduling stuff that's going to be a little all over the place coming up because of Thanksgiving, but we'll let you know when that comes up. We've got, a Friday show that's going to be a little bit different and everything. Yeah. But we also do have our next live video coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about what comics are you thankful for, what things in general you thankful for, but we talk about comics around here, so I think that'll be really fun.
Everybody's thankful for family and good health. That's like an understood. But like, what nerdy things are you thankful for? I've got a few that we'll talk about.
Yeah, so go ahead and put those in the comments of this video or whatever video, we'll find those, and look forward to talking about it. But all that being said, until next time, see ya.